Hey everyone, Andy Wike. I'm here at the Peterson factory with my good friend Glen Whelan.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Glen is the managing director at Peterson's Pipes, and we're going to talk about something super special today, one that I look forward to every year, and that is the Pipe of the Year. So, Glen, can you tell us a little bit about what we can look forward to this year in the Pipe of the Year release?
This one is really special to me personally.
Okay.
So the pipe we're doing this year is a pipe that I inherited from my granddad.
Really?
Yeah, so he was gifted it by my dad, who was the factory manager at the time.
Okay.
It was a second, but when I saw the shape, I just immediately said, like, yeah, this is, and I've been trying to get this shape out there for the last 8 years.
Right.
So I almost feel like it's my turn to get the Pipe of the Year choice.
There you go.
Josh has had it in the past with like O2 or the Pat B and OB. So
Giacomo just made his own shape one year.
Oh yeah, well that's Giacomo. Giacomo's so good, we just let him do what he wants.
Well, that's awesome. So once again, we're looking at an archival sort of Peterson shape, putting a new spin on it, releasing it as part of the Pipe of the Year.
These are as far back as the 1896 catalogue. There's examples. I don't want to keep the people waiting too much longer, but what we're going for is one of the Cads, the Bulldogs, the squat Bulldog, namely the 493. That's actually my grandfather's pipe that we have. Giacomo was able to use it when he was kind of measuring up in the early R&D phases, getting the finished pipe for us to look at as a concept. The only difference with what we're doing this time around versus the 493 in the catalogue is we're drawing inspiration on the 494 shape, which had the tapered stem rather than the saddle stem. And of course it'll be a P-lip.
Yeah. So I'm holding the very first one here.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. So the Cad class of shapes was sort of I remember the like very, well, I don't remember it, but the like first mention that I can find, thanks of course to Mark Irwin's blog. Great resource if you guys have never checked it out. But Mark seems to think that the very first mention of the Cad shape was actually the Coronation Cad.
Yeah.
Which of course was smoked by Tom Crean.
Tom Crean, who like we've celebrated with Peterson before, but like we celebrated him as smoking the Dublin shape, like because that's almost synonymous with Tom, and like we were shocked to see the photo of him with this Coronation Bulldog. It's actually really nice to see it as well.
It's super cool.
So yeah, like seeing him smoke it, but then like you just have to look through history. The Bulldog shape is just like iconic for Peterson.
Oh yeah.
But like the kind of more modern Bulldogs, they've kind of all gone for height, rather than the squat roundness that we're getting with this one. Yeah, like this is totally different than what we've done recent iterations of the Bulldog shape.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the particular models that we're referencing in this year's Pipe of the Year are like really reached their zenith around 1947. Like you can see them in some of the distributors' catalogs. But there were really like three or four Cad shapes. Yeah, they were all squat Bulldogs. Yeah, of varying sizes. But
we're going with the largest of them.
Yeah, and it's like a nice wide, almost pot-like chamber. But the lines are really cool. It's almost like this streamlined, modern.
It's very elegant.
Yeah,
it really is elegant. Like the transition from the bowl into the shank flows all the way through. Like it remains conical all the way through, almost down to the button.
That's great.
And but the lines are so sharp. I think the tapered stem lends itself really well to it, and then the P-lip button for me just finishes it off.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, like I think if you look at Peterson's early Bulldogs, they were all patent lips.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, of course, the 1896, 1906 catalogs all had, you know, Peterson's patent pipes, but then of course the Peterson's patent lip pipes, which is sort of the precursor to our modern classic.
Exactly.
range.
Yeah, and it keeps our kind of new proud tradition of remaining true to like heritage with in the Ladisi era with the Pipe of the Years.
Sure.
That we're really taking inspiration from our storied past and continuing with P-lips.
Yeah.
Like it's to me, it's really important that Pipe of the Year is our most iconic release every year. It's the one everybody's waiting on, and for me, it just has to be P-lip.
Yeah.
Always. It's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's especially great that the inspiration for this series came from a personal connection, your granddad's pipe. But of course, getting that to a modern sort of execution
Yeah, like
where do you even start to recreate something like that?
it's like anything in manufacturing. These ideas always sound great on paper, but it's
Sure.
like bringing it to fruition is like the really hardest part. So I guess the first steps for us is, thankfully we had a living example. We've recreated pipes of the year in the past from just paper, like from 2D drawings. So having a physical example was really helpful for Giacomo, because what we need to be able to do is make sure that some of the blocks that we have here, you see behind us, the main thing we need to be sure of is that we can turn it and we can get a sufficient quantity of blocks.
Right.
Because this is quite a big bowl, and it's wide, so it's going to come from an unusual block size of the briar. So making sure we know we can accumulate that amount is really important, because obviously you need to turn way more than you're actually going to make in the end. So we probably need about 20% overage just to account for attrition during the process. So that's the first step. We talk with Giacomo and he will basically sketch out the block size that we need. He'll create a template. He needs to have tolerance around each side of the bowl on the ends of the shank for when he's shaping the blocks.
Okay.
And then that gives him kind of lift off into where he comes into the fore, and he just takes over getting it to the end concept.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Giacomo, you've been responsible for sort of executing or figuring out how to execute at scale most of the Pipe of the Year editions that we've done in the last, half decade here.
Yeah.
That has to be like not an easy task. Like oftentimes it's as Glen mentioned, it's a 2D drawing that you're sort of recreating from scratch.
Yeah,
this year, of course, we have a model example, but every Pipe of the Year starts like this. So how do you take this and turn it into a recreation of the Bulldog that Glen mentioned?
Yeah, so this time we were lucky because we had a sample, and usually I just take some measure by the pipe, the bowl, I make some drawing, some sketches just to have an idea about what I'm gonna do. Then I just bring the draw on the block.
Okay.
And from there start all the three-dimensional work, three-dimensional process. I did like for the other Pipe of the Year. So I make a sample in my workshop, and then I use the sample to set all the machine for bolt turning and start the production.
So in regards to sort of taking it from this block to sort of a finished prototype, like what were some of the challenges involved? Because of course it's sort of a squat shape for one thing, but it also is very wide, has a big bowl, but then it's also a bulldog, so you have those sharply tapered lines and everything. Talk to me about how you sort of developed the process.
The first thing is look at the best block that fit for our shape, okay? In this case, we need a big block. So we are talking about an MF F&half, MFF 2-3. So a tall block and a long block, very wide for the shape.
A lot of material.
Yeah, it's also hard to get them. So we start many months ago to get the blocks for this project. We have to do every time. It's very important.
Sure.
Yeah, and then we start sorting the blocks with the template that I made especially for this shape, the Pipe of the Year. After the sorting process, we start what we call the bolt turning process. That it's a challenge. Make the sample, the physical sample from the block. But another challenge is start with the bolt turning process, because we have to make new knives, new milling tools.
Wow.
Set the machine in a new way, so it's something new every time, and this takes time and need experience. So it's a bit tricky every time.
Sure. It's not just you like making one pipe and then you're like, oh, I'm done. It's taking one pipe. This is the design.
It has to
and
be
then having to engineer
exactly.
everything to make sure that we can create that at scale.
Has to be as more accurate as possible, because we are going to make 1,500 bowls. So we can't stop in the middle and start
Right.
again. It has to be right by the start, you know.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a big challenge, yeah.
From what I know about bowl turning, I mean, it's not a one and done process either, you know. Like we talked a lot about
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
you set up the machines and did all the milling and new tools and everything else, but I would imagine that every certain amount of bowls you have to sort of go in and hone and fine tune and make sure that the accuracy is
Usually
there.
after 20, sometimes 50 pieces, we have to check again all the tolerance, the dimension. After 300 bowl, we have to stop, remove the knife, sharp all of them,
Wow.
and reset the machine again. And everything has to be the same that when we start, you know. So yeah, it's a big job. We have to be very, very accurate.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like trying to hit a moving target, right? Like you know where it is, but it's sort of constantly recalibrating, constantly like making sure that you're going to hit bullseye every time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's incredible. You've worked on so many of these at this point. I'm just curious. What is your favorite part about the Pipe of the Year project?
So, as a designer, I love all the process. That is not gonna. It never start just making the bowl, but start before. You know, with the research, with some talking about with the other managers, and everything that is involved in the process. I love to see something on a piece of paper, some line on a piece of paper become a three-dimensional product, you know, and a pipe. It's our favorite toy.
It really is.
Yeah, it's magical, even
Yeah.
because it's something that it's
It's true creation. you
Yeah,
know? Like
exactly.
you're making something from
yeah.
material, but it all comes from
sure.
the brain, you know?
Yeah, it's a mix of many different knowledge and skills that give something great.
Yeah, I'm also like I'm sure it's cool to see all the R&D work that you put into these, and then not only watching them go through bowl turning, but also all the other stations in the factory, and being able to take, okay, it's not just the shape, but wow, look at the grain that we got on X, or like that one's going to be a really great PSB, or just all the different variations that can come out of that. So
Yeah, it's an industrial design project. So we don't have to study just the product, but even the process. If we find something that doesn't work, I don't know, in BTA or in finishing, we have to go back and start again to
Wow.
fix all the process, to save time, to do the right job straight away. So yeah, it's many things are involved, and that make I think more interesting.
sure, it's
Sure.
a challenge for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
You know, one thing to note too is that, of course, it's Pipe of the Year, so we wanted to incorporate Peterson's iconic silversmithing.
Yeah.
So if you actually look at the 1947 distributor's catalog, none of those CAD shapes were mounted.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact that we were able to put such a nice matching silver band on this is just incredible.
To me, a Bulldog
Without it, yeah.
always comes over.
Yeah,
it looks
yeah, yeah.
weird without the silver.
Yeah, 100%. You sort of need that flash.
It just and it breaks it up as well. Like it actually helps with the transition
Yeah.
from the shank to stem.
It's
so
a nice little buffer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. So, of course, at this point, we're still in the R&D phases, so I'm sure we
Yeah.
don't exactly know how these are going to grade out, but
No, but the nice thing is we have done all the hard work
Right.
in the sense of getting it to a point where we can produce it.
Okay.
So we'll see how it grades out once it comes out bowl turning. The guys are starting that next week.
okay.
So that'll take that whole process to get it up to Willie to grade is about 6 weeks. So in 6 weeks' time, we should be in a better place to tell you how it's going to grade out and what sort of finishes we're looking at. So,
All right, I'll hold you to that.
but we're super excited.
Yeah. And then one last thing, you know, like last year, you all celebrated the 160th anniversary of
Yeah.
Captain Peterson. I think it's particularly interesting that this first Pipe of the Year after that milestone is actually the 30th edition of the Peterson Pipe of the Year series.
Yeah.
So we're sort of starting this new milestone.
I think
era.
that's like the advantage of having such a storied history is like almost every year is a milestone of some sort.
That's right.
So it's testament to all the crafts people that have gone before us that we get to celebrate what they help achieve now for us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Glenn, thank you so much.
Thanks,
man.
Andy. It's always
It was
a
great to
pleasure.
catch up.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.